Benedict Cumberbatch stars in the Netflix limited series Eric, and if you go into this simply based on still images, you'd be grossly mistaken as to the tone and the heart of this story. A grief-stricken father whose son goes missing finds solace through his friendship with Eric, the monster that lives under his son's bed. So I went into this without watching the trailer, but I saw some images of this giant bluish Muppet sort of looking thing along with Benedict Cumberbatch, so I assumed it was either a comedy or a dramedy. It's not. This is a darkly dramatic mystery that is heavy on social commentary. Now the premise is that Vincent, played by Cumberbatch, is the creator of this Sesame Street-like kids show, and despite his puppet's friendly demeanor, Vincent is pretty much a walking pile of poo. He is angry so much of the time, exceedingly rude, and then condescending to just about everybody. And then he awkwardly and antagonistically interacts with his son Edgar. Now, one morning after an intense fight between Vincent and his wife, Edgar walks alone to school, but ends up disappearing, creating a devastating search for the young boy. Now, for a mystery, this is a great setup, especially because the family lives in more of the sketchy part of New York. There's a seedy club right around the corner from the apartment. Drug dealers and others that cause problems hang out on all the stoops, and this is happening amidst increasing homelessness and anti-gay mentalities. So the drama, it is definitely at its peak within this show. Now Cumberbatch plays Vincent in a way that he is instantly unlikable, which is effective for all the arcs and complications the character is going to experience. But it also hinders our attachment to the character. He's despicable, so very little sympathy can be extended to him, even in the direst of circumstances. Gabby Hoffman plays the mom Cassie, and her dynamic with Cumberbatch, it is explosive and captivating. I mean, she nails the part of the distraught and grieving mom who refuses to get up or concede that her child won't be coming home. And her strength and determination, it is an excellent offset to Vincent's acerbic personality. Now, the first episode of this 6-episode limited series had me fully engaged. The mystery, it is established through the disappearance, and then I was instantly hooked. But as the subsequent episodes played out, more and more complications were being added to the storyline, crowding out the mystery and search for Edgar in order to include several social commentary storylines. And it's not to say that these aren't important discussions to have, but they did distract from the main portion, sometimes focusing on side stories for most of an episode and then ignoring the main arc that drew all of us in. In addition to Hoffman and Cumberbatch, McKinley Belcher III is another standout. Now, he plays a detective on Edgar's missing persons case, and he comes with complexities that add a ton of layers and depth to the story, but then also distractions. I do appreciate how some of these tie back around and then complement Edgar's portion, but more often than not, these other arcs make the series come across as two separate shows that just happen to be occurring at the same time and in the same locations. Now, the reason for the title of the show being named Eric is that Edgar comes up with a puppet character of his own, huge hulking blue and white monster named Eric. He's got a deep, gravelly voice, thanks to Cumberbatch doing double duty, and while the character is undefined for some of the story, it does begin to have a very pivotal role within the narrative. And I love how versatile Eric is within the story arcs. I mean, he plays to more than one theme, showcasing his importance across the spectrum of the show, even when it appears that he's just a simple show prop. Now, about halfway through the show, I wasn't sure how much I was actually clicking with it all. I liked the mystery, and I appreciated the social commentary, not necessarily, though, together in one storyline. By the end, though, thanks to the recurring themes of acceptance and ownership of actions, this ends up delivering a hard-hitting and captivating motif. And because of all the layers and tangents, this takes longer than necessary to arrive. But the heart and passion in which the crux of the story comes through, it is moving. Now, Cumberbatch, he works to deliver a gut-wrenching performance, showcasing monster-sized flaws and struggles while battling existing demons that prevent him from being the father he could be. Now, if the middle of the show had me struggling to stay engaged, that was all remedied in the final episode, creating a stirring, emotional sequence that can bring tears to just the most stoic of people. I mean, many topics and situations work to make this a depressing and difficult watching experience, and even in the final act, we're confronted with shocking character consequences. The series threatens to drag us into the bell jar, tighten down the lid, and then shake us up and leave us in that dour state. Thankfully, though, this ends not with a storybook conclusion, but a resolution that feels hopeful, even if it is somewhat rushed. We spend so much time in the emotional trenches, just being overwhelmed by dark and dire circumstances and experiences, that while I do appreciate the hope that the conclusion provides, the characters get all of that realization and impetus for change less than 20 minutes before the credits roll. So overall, Eric is an emotional ride, steeped in mystery and dark themes. The social commentary contained within the narrative can be heavy-handed and a little preachy at times, but that doesn't reduce its truth or relevance. The plot complications are numerous, overstuffing the story, so main elements take a backseat in favor of minor arcs. And Cumberbatch, Hoffman, and Belcher III each portray their hurting and damaged characters expertly, delivering personas that elicit guttural but memorable responses. The show may feel it loses its way in the middle, but thankfully it follows the breadcrumbs back to a satisfying conclusion. There's sex, some nudity, a ton of profanity, and some brutal violence. I give Eric 3 out of 5 couches. So what are you binging right now? Anything I should be adding to my list? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.